Hi everyone, my name's Lewis. In chapter 15 in the textbook, Steinberg defines the three different types of environmentalism: mainstream, natural capitalism, and radical environmentalism. He goes deeper, stating that capitalistic-driven market economies contain the never-ending quest for building the economy and gaining capital, which will always take precedence before saving aspects of the environment. This is reflected in the image I chose here to visually represent this thesis. This image portrays a protester's sign photographed among redwood trees, and the sign reads, "Green capitalism, same old shit." I feel as though this is the perfect representation of Steinberg's thesis statement for the chapter. He states that for economists in a capitalistic system, the solution to market failures is always more markets. No company will foreclose on growth for the sake of a greener planet. No company will embrace environmentalism at the expense of a bad profit and loss statement. Corporate environmentalism, in other words, does not address the fundamental quest for endless accumulation of capital that is at the core of the capitalistic system. This is the point that I believe this protester's sign in the image is also stating. Is there any way to really be green in a capitalist system where the emphasis is on production and consumption? Is there really a way to successfully go about that process in a green manner? The course reader article for this week, titled "Gas Masks, Pogo, and the Ecological Indian," states how our understanding of important environmental issues and responsibilities have been skewed by the media's portrayal. The thesis states, in their campaigns, protests, and rhetoric, many environmentalists sought to forge links between individual behavior and structures of power. The visual media, however, extracted and amplified only one part of their message: the focus on individual moral conduct, but severed it from questions of power. And he goes on to state, pictures made the environmental crisis visible to a mass public, but simultaneously masked the ways in which structural inequalities produced ecologies of injustice. This representation is only half of what needs to happen. We need both individuals to be responsible and have people questioning the structures of power that exist, these being the structural inequalities. The imagery I chose, as you can see here, although a bit extreme and over the top, I believe represents the media's one-sided portrayal of this issue, completely missing the other side of the problem, which is that capitalism is the problem. A system that commodifies wealth, that believes wealth equals power, embraces greed as a productive tool, leads to unequal distributions of wealth and power, and it creates a value system through the use of rationalization. There is only so much you can do as an individual, which I think this picture captures perfectly, that in order to save the planet, kill yourself, which is an extreme interpretation of what the media was portraying. And I believe that Barry Commoner's quote captures this pretty perfectly. He says, "The earth is polluted neither because man is some kind of especially dirty animal, nor because there are too many of us. The fault lies with human society, with the ways in which society had elected to win, distribute, and use the wealth that has been extracted by human labor from the planet's resources." For the case study for this week, the focus was on comparing Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X in relation to our views of them. These views that have been ingrained in us by the mainstream media as well as mainstream culture are very skewed. Martin Luther King Jr. was a mainstream activist for the Black Civil Rights Movement, and Malcolm X was the radical arm of the Black Civil Rights Movement. Both of them had similar views and were relatively extreme. However, we as a society have whitewashed Martin Luther King Jr. into this version that makes us feel good inside. Both of them wanted change, but we stripped away the radical part of his message, similar to what happened to the environmental movement. The picture I chose to visualize the case study's topic is this cardboard protest sign that you see here, which states that we want system change, not climate change. This is relevant because it speaks to both the environmental movement through the climate change aspect of it, as well as the Black civil rights movement through the system change aspect. This system is capitalism, which you can't talk about without discussing racism. The federal government built the white middle class through the United States racist economic system. In the chapter 15 discussion for this week, I thought that mainstream environmentalism would be the best or most promising option for having the most potential for being effective today. One of my fellow classmates, Brandon Bates, states that he believes that radical environmentalism has the most potential because they aren't tied to corporate interests and can force more extreme reforms on the table. The picture I found to represent his viewpoint is a protester wearing a V for Vendetta mask and holding a sign saying, "Mr. Capitalism, game over." This symbolism of the anonymous figure, as well as the movie character, I believe encapsulates radical environmentalism. I think his viewpoint is an interesting take on what could work in today's society. However, I do not agree, and it does not persuade me to change my viewpoint. Another one of my classmates, Chachi Guerrero, states in the discussion that he believes that capitalist environmentalism has the most potential for initiating change. He says that this is because the public demand is for environmentally friendly products, therefore they will have to follow suit with what consumers want. The image I chose for this viewpoint is this image of green economy equaling low carbon growth plus resource efficiency plus social inclusivity equals sustainable development, question mark. This is a visual representing what he is talking about, and I love how there's a question mark following sustainable development. This infers that, is it really sustainable development? And I, once again, do not agree with what he is saying because it relies on the people persuading the businesses to operate in this fashion, and that they wouldn't do so on their own free wills. After watching both of the lecture videos for the week, I still feel as though mainstream environmentalism is the best option. And this is because the lecture videos states that natural capitalism's priority is still generating the most money possible, with environmentalism being secondary. In the second lecture video for the week, radical environmentalism is described as having a violent and extreme stigma, which intentionally misleads or deters from what they are actually asking for, which is systematic change. Also, their refusal to accept the capitalist economy as a solution to environmentalism and seeing it as a way corporations can distract us seems like a huge block to them progressing in their cause. Our society here in the United States is capitalist, and asking for that system to change entirely is a huge task that I don't see happening. I still believe that the type of environmentalism with the most potential for being effective today is mainstream environmentalism, gaining widespread backing and support in society. Thank you very much.